In an era where modern football is increasingly dominated by nation-states and massive hedge funds, Real Madrid remains a member-owned holdout, relying on a century-old brand to compete with the world's deepest pockets. For 2 decades, Florentino Pérez has consolidated power so effectively that he often runs for re-election without a single opposing candidate. This gives him unilateral control over the club's sporting and financial direction. To cement that authority, he poured over $1 billion into renovating the Santiago Bernabéu. It stands directly in the center of the Spanish capital as a physical monument to his administrative control. Unseating a leader who has anchored his legacy in over $1 billion of new infrastructure requires a campaign built on direct institutional subversion. Recently, a distinct anxiety has started rippling through the fan base. There is a quiet, growing dread that the club is inching closer to complete corporate privatization. This diagram shows how the club is actually structured. Real Madrid is technically owned by its members, known as Socios, rather than a single billionaire. Each node represents a voting member who pays annual dues to maintain a stake in the club's future. Seizing on this tension, Spanish businessman Enrique Riquelme has stepped forward. He is weaponizing the fear of a corporate takeover, publicly claiming he has a moral obligation to protect the members from losing their club entirely. By framing the June elections around this threat, Riquelme has turned what is usually a sleepy administrative formality into a fierce battle for the club's identity. Riquelme's first tactical strike went straight for the incumbent's throat. He publicly trashed the newly renovated stadium project. He argued that the billion-dollar venue is financially damaging and structurally compromised. He stated plainly on the record that it is far from being the best stadium in the world. Instead of focusing on the Bernabéu, he proposed abandoning further stadium development entirely, promising to build a completely modernized, high-tech sports city from scratch. Attacking a leader's most visible and expensive achievement head-on is a deliberate, high-risk political move. It immediately polarizes the voter base, forcing them to take a side. But in Madrid, infrastructure alone does not win elections. A candidate must promise massive star power, feeding the cultural expectation of signing global superstars, known locally as Galacticos. On national television, Riquelme bypassed the usual vague rumors. He literally held up a Real Madrid jersey bearing the number 9, confidently claiming Erling Haaland actively wants to leave England for Spain. He followed that by stating Ballon d'Or winner Rodri would also defect from Manchester City to anchor the Madrid midfield. Naming 2 highly coveted specific targets takes a theoretical campaign and turns it into a tangible, highly alluring proposition for the voting members. Predictably, the public met these claims with heavy skepticism. To counter this, Riquelme introduced an unusual financial mechanism, a notarized personal guarantee. This calculation breaks down his exact mathematical risk. Riquelme legally bound himself to pay the membership dues for all 100,000 Socios next season if he fails to sign both players. Multiplied across the entire base, that guarantee equates to nearly €14.8 million in out-of-pocket risk. Attaching a massive, legally binding financial penalty to an election promise elevates this from standard campaign bluster into a dangerous tier of high-stakes sports politics. The reaction from England was immediate and furious. Manchester City's front office moved quickly to contain the narrative. The club threatened direct legal action against Riquelme. They argued he was unlawfully weaponizing their intellectual property and exploiting their players' image rights to fuel his own political campaign. The agency representing Haaland also released a swift, definitive statement, denying the existence of any exit clauses and attempting to shut the rumors down entirely. Triggering a severe diplomatic crisis with a rival club might look like a misstep, but it plays perfectly into Riquelme's strategy. By provoking a response, his name now dominates the global news cycle. When you analyze the cost-benefit reality, risking millions of euros starts to look like a calculated purchase. Riquelme is buying immense mindshare among a very specific, niche voter base. Whether those players actually arrive in Madrid, or whether a formal lawsuit is filed in England, is entirely secondary. The primary objective was securing political exposure. This brazen bluff successfully forced the international media to treat a previously obscure underdog as a legitimate, formidable contender. More importantly, the aggressive campaign revealed clear stress points within an organization that previously looked almost entirely bulletproof. Regardless of who wins the vote in June, the days of quiet, uncontested control are finished. A highly effective blueprint for a football insurgency has just been written.